There is a library buried beneath the sand, not a metaphor, not a legend. An actual library pressed into clay tablets, sealed in ancient jars, and hidden beneath the ruins of a civilization that was producing complex astronomical charts while most of the world had not yet developed writing. The Sumerians lived in what is now southern Iraq, in the region called Mesopotamia, roughly 6,000 years ago. And what they left behind in that baked clay has made some serious researchers go very quiet. They left behind descriptions of astronomical cycles, geological processes, and cosmological events that modern science would not independently confirm for thousands of years. 5 of those descriptions are what this documentary examines, held against what the evidence actually shows, what mainstream scholarship establishes, and where the genuine uncertainty lies. Before we go further, if this kind of historical and archaeological exploration is what you are here for, subscribe now. Every week, this channel examines texts, tablets, and interpretive debates at the edges of mainstream scholarship. Hit, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Who the Sumerians actually were what mainstream archaeology establishes about the Sumerians is itself remarkable and does not require embellishment. The Sumerians are the earliest civilization in the human record with a documented writing system. They developed cuneiform, one of the oldest written languages known, beginning around 3400 BCE. They built the first cities, produced the earliest surviving legal codes, maintained astronomical observation records over centuries, and developed a mathematical system based on the number 60 that we still use today when we measure time and angles. Their astronomical knowledge has genuinely puzzled historians of ancient science. The Mul-Apen tablets, a real, authenticated cuneiform series held in major museum collections, contain predictive astronomical tables for planetary movements, star risings, and eclipse cycles that are accurate beyond what straightforward naked-eye observation over a few generations would be expected to produce. The Babylonian tradition that followed the Sumerians, and which inherited their astronomical records, is now well established as having achieved predictive astronomical capability that influenced later Greek science. Where the Sumerian problem genuinely sits in mainstream scholarship, archaeologists note that Sumerian civilization appears in the record with a sophistication that is difficult to fully account for through the gradual developmental arc seen in other ancient societies. This has been called the Sumerian problem within academic literature and is a real, documented puzzle, not a fringe claim. The mainstream working assumption is that a developmental period exists that the archaeological record has not yet fully revealed. The Sumerians themselves attributed their knowledge to beings they called the Anunnaki. Mainstream Assyriology reads the Anunnaki as a divine pantheon, mythological figures developed to explain natural forces and structure social authority. A minority of researchers have proposed a more literal reading. Both readings are noted here, and neither is presented as settled. With that foundation in place, here are 5 areas where Sumerian texts have been proposed by some researchers to anticipate modern scientific findings, and what the evidence actually supports. Proposed prediction 1. A large body on an elliptical orbit, the Sumerians described a celestial body they called Nibiru. In authentic cuneiform texts, the term appears in astronomical contexts and has been translated variably as crossing point or planet of the crossing. Its meaning within Babylonian astronomical literature is still discussed within mainstream Assyriology. Zechariah Sitchin, a scholar whose translations remain controversial within academic Assyriology, with legitimate criticisms raised about his specific linguistic choices, proposed in his published work that Nibiru referred to a large planetary body on a highly elliptical orbit passing through the inner solar system on a cycle he interpreted from the texts as approximately 3,600 years. In 2016, planetary scientists Konstantin Bodigan and Mike Brown at Caltech published a peer-reviewed paper in the Astronomical Journal proposing the existence of a large, undiscovered planetary body in the outer solar system. They based this on gravitational perturbations in the orbits of trans-Neptunian objects, measurable effects suggesting a significant gravitational source not yet directly observed. This body, informally called Planet 9, is estimated at roughly 10 times Earth's mass on a highly elliptical orbit. Orbital period estimates in various models range from 10,000 to 20,000 years, though some calculations have produced shorter figures. What is verifiable? The Planet 9 hypothesis is a real, peer-reviewed scientific proposal based on observed gravitational data. It has not yet been confirmed through direct observation. The claimed correspondence between the Sumerian Nibiru descriptions and Planet 9 is a proposed connection, not an established finding. The specific orbital period attributed to Nibiru in alternative research does not straightforwardly match the mainstream Planet 9 models. What the evidence does not support, the claim that Nibiru's imminent approach explains current geological or oceanic anomalies. No direct observation of such a body exists as of 2026. Proposed prediction 2. The splitting of a continental landmass. Some alternative researchers have proposed that a Sumerian text fragment, sometimes cited under the University of Pennsylvania collection, describes a future division of a large landmass, a description they connect to the East African Rift system. The East African Rift is a real, extensively documented geological feature, a divergent tectonic boundary running approximately 3,000 kilometers through eastern Africa, where two sections of the African plate are slowly separating. It is the same class of process that, over hundreds of millions of years, separated continents and formed oceans. In 2018, a dramatic crack appeared in southwestern Kenya following heavy rainfall, visible from the air, and reported by Kenyan geologists as consistent with rift activity. In 2023, a study in Nature Geoscience documented measurable increases in the rift's opening rate in certain sections, particularly the Afar region. The East African Rift is real, documented, ongoing, and accelerating in certain sections beyond previous model predictions. This is established mainstream geology. What has not been independently verified, the specific Sumerian text fragment proposed to describe this feature, its catalog reference, translation, and the specific interpretation connecting it to the East African Rift have not been confirmed through peer-reviewed Assyriological scholarship. The geological reality of the rift does not verify the claimed ancient text describing it. Proposed prediction 3. Deep ocean thermal anomalies. This is the prediction described in some alternative research accounts as currently happening, and it is the one where the real scientific data is most striking and most worth examining carefully. Across several authentic ancient Mesopotamian texts, including passages from the real and authenticated Atrahasis epic, there are descriptions connected to changes beneath the surface of the sea, increases in subterranean heat, and disruptions in ocean life. These are read by some researchers as references to deep ocean thermal anomalies associated with submarine volcanic activity. Here is what modern oceanography documents. In 2023, global ocean surface temperatures reached anomalous levels that exceeded the projections of every existing climate model. Multiple senior climate scientists published statements acknowledging they did not fully understand the magnitude of the departure from predictions. Deep ocean warming below 2,000 meters has increased measurably, with a 2024 study in Nature Climate Change documenting anomalies that exceeded all model projections. The 2022 Hunga Tonga submarine eruption was the largest explosive event recorded by modern instruments, injecting unprecedented quantities of water vapor into the stratosphere. Marine biologists documented simultaneous coral bleaching events globally in 2023 and 2024. Deep water fish species appeared at surface levels. Mass die-offs in marine ecosystems occurred across multiple ocean basins. Mainstream climate science attributes the oceanic anomalies primarily to anthropogenic climate change, the Hunga Tonga stratospheric injection, and natural variability, while acknowledging that existing models did not fully predict the magnitude of the 2023 to 2024 anomalies. Ongoing research is refining the explanation, what the evidence supports. The oceanic anomalies described are real, documented, and genuinely outside previous model predictions. Whether Sumerian texts anticipated these specific events is a proposed connection that has not been verified through peer-reviewed scholarship. The genuine scientific uncertainty about the full explanation for the anomalies is real. But scientific uncertainty about a natural phenomenon is not the same as evidence for an ancient textual prediction of it. Proposed prediction 4. Transgenerational memory and human consciousness. Some researchers have proposed that certain Sumerian texts, particularly passages in the Enki-associated literature, describe a period during which what they call encoded or inherited knowledge becomes accessible to human beings. Modern neuroscience and genetics have produced findings in this area that are genuinely remarkable and worth stating accurately. In 2013, researchers at Emory University published a study in Nature Neuroscience documenting transgenerational epigenetic inheritance of learned fear responses in mice. Offspring showed fear responses to stimuli their parents had been conditioned to fear without having been exposed to the conditioning themselves. This study has been replicated and extended, and transgenerational epigenetic inheritance is now an active and serious research area within genetics and neuroscience. Research on the default mode network, the brain's internal processing system most active during rest and introspective states, has expanded significantly, with major institutions including Johns Hopkins, NYU, and Imperial College London publishing peer-reviewed research on altered states of consciousness and their neurological basis. What is verifiable? Transgenerational epigenetic inheritance is a real, documented biological phenomenon. The neuroscience of altered states of consciousness is a real and active research field. The global surge in interest in meditation, contemplative practice, and consciousness research over the past 2 decades is a real and documented cultural and scientific phenomenon. What has not been independently verified, the proposed connection between these findings and specific Sumerian textual descriptions of an encoded human biological awakening during the current period. This connection is proposed by alternative researchers and is not accepted within mainstream genetics, neuroscience, or Assyriology. Proposed Prediction 5. The visibility of unidentified aerial phenomena the Sumerian texts describe beings called the Igigi, a genuine term in authenticated Sumerian and Babylonian literature associated in authentic texts with a group within the divine hierarchy, sometimes described as observers. Some alternative researchers have proposed that descriptions of the Igigi's increased visibility in certain Sumerian passages correspond to the current period of documented UAP disclosure. Here is what the public record documents. In December 2017, the New York Times published a front-page investigation into a classified Pentagon program called AATIP, the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, which had investigated unidentified aerial phenomena. Declassified footage was released showing objects demonstrating flight characteristics that U.S. Navy pilots described as beyond known aircraft capabilities. In July 2023, David Grush, a former intelligence official, testified before the United States Congress under oath, stating that the U.S. government and contractors were in possession of non-human craft and biological material. His testimony was submitted with supporting documentation to congressional intelligence committees. In 2024, the NASA UAP Independent Study Team, established in 2022, published findings acknowledging that certain observed phenomena could not be explained by known natural or human-made technology. By 2026, multiple governments have shifted from categorical denial of anomalous aerial phenomena to official acknowledgement that some observed objects are of genuinely unknown origin. What is publicly verifiable? The UAP disclosure progression from 2017 through 2026 is a documented sequence of real events. Congressional testimony occurred. Government reports were published. Official positions have shifted. What has not been established? That the observed phenomena are the Igigi of Sumerian cosmology, that their disclosure was anticipated in specific Sumerian texts, or that any connection exists between UAP disclosure and ancient Mesopotamian religious literature. The connection is proposed by alternative researchers. It is not supported by mainstream scholarship in any relevant field. The Göbekli Tepe problem. Genuinely real. Genuinely remarkable. Any serious examination of what ancient humanity was capable of must include Göbekli Tepe, because it is one of the most important archaeological discoveries of the 20th century, and its implications are not fringe. Göbekli Tepe in southeastern Turkey was excavated beginning in 1994 by German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt. The site consists of massive stone circles with T-shaped pillars up to 5 meters tall and weighing up to 20 tons, covered in intricate carvings. Radiocarbon dating places the site's construction at approximately 10,000 BCE, over 6,000 years before the Sumerians and over 6,500 years before the Great Pyramid. The conventional timeline of civilization places 10,000 BCE firmly in the hunter-gatherer period, before agriculture, before settled communities, before the social organization required to build monumental architecture. Göbekli Tepe demonstrates that organized, large-scale, symbolically sophisticated construction was occurring thousands of years earlier than the standard model accommodated. A 2017 analysis by researchers at Edinburgh University proposed that a specific carving on Pillar 43 encodes a record of a comet impact event dating to approximately 10,950 BCE. Corresponding to the beginning of the Younger Dryas, a rapid and severe cooling period lasting approximately 1,200 years. This analysis has been published in peer-reviewed form and has generated genuine academic discussion. The Younger Dryas impact hypothesis, the proposal that a cosmic impact or airburst event triggered the Younger Dryas, is a real, actively debated scientific hypothesis supported by a layer of impact markers found at multiple sites across 4 continents, including glass spherules formed by extreme rapid heating. It is contested within geology and planetary science and has not reached consensus, but it has peer-reviewed support and growing evidential backing. Göbekli Tepe was deliberately buried, covered intentionally around 8,000 BCE by the people who built it for reasons that remain unexplained. Whatever civilization produced it left no other confirmed archaeological trace of comparable sophistication at that date. What is established and what is not, it is worth pausing to be precise about what this documentary can and cannot confirm. What is independently verifiable? The Sumerian king list, the Atrahasis epic, the Mul-Apen tablets, and the Enuma Elish are all real, authenticated ancient documents. The Sumerian base 60 mathematical system and its astronomical applications are documented in mainstream history of science. The Planet 9 hypothesis is a real peer-reviewed scientific proposal, unconfirmed. The East African Rift is real and accelerating in certain sections. The 2023 to 2024 oceanic anomalies are real and documented in peer-reviewed climate science. Transgenerational epigenetic inheritance is a real biological phenomenon. The UAP disclosure progression from 2017 to 2026 is a real sequence of publicly documented events. Göbekli Tepe is real and genuinely challenges conventional assumptions about early human capability. The Younger Dryas impact hypothesis has genuine peer-reviewed support and remains contested. What has not been independently verified? The specific textual connections between Sumerian passages and each of these 5 phenomena as proposed by alternative researchers. These connections are minority interpretive positions not accepted within mainstream Assyriology, geology, climate science, genetics, neuroscience, or astronomy. What this documentary does not endorse, that any of these 5 correspondences constitute proof of ancient prediction. They constitute a set of genuinely interesting proposed connections between authentic ancient texts and real modern scientific data. Whether they reflect genuine ancient knowledge, remarkable coincidence, or interpretive patterns imposed on ambiguous material is a question this documentary cannot resolve, and neither can the available evidence. What is worth holding on to? The genuine story of the Sumerians, without any supplementary alternative interpretation, is one of the most remarkable in the human record. A civilization that appeared with mathematical and astronomical sophistication that historians still struggle to fully account for, that left behind predictive astronomical tables accurate enough to impress modern astronomers, that recorded the oldest flood narrative in the written record, and whose cosmological framework has influenced every tradition that followed it. The genuine scientific data of 2026. Oceanic anomalies that confound existing models, a real hypothesis about a large undiscovered outer solar system body, a real sequence of government disclosure about phenomena of unknown origin, a real revolution in consciousness research, a real acceleration of East African tectonic activity, is remarkable on its own terms. Whether any ancient civilization anticipated any of this is a question that rigorous, patient, peer-reviewed scholarship is best positioned to pursue, and one that the available evidence has not yet settled in either direction. The clay tablets are there. The questions they raise are real, and real questions, examined honestly, are where understanding begins.